Hello everyone, it's Dr. Mohib and we will be going through the remainder of cardiovascular embryology. First of all, septation of the chambers. During cardiac looping, different compartments are formed which are connected to each other. So during septation, these chambers are separated from each other. In atrial septation, right atrium is separated from left atrium. In ventricular septation, right ventricle is separated from left ventricle. And atrioventricular septation, atria are separated from ventricles. First of all, we have atrial septation. During cardiac looping, a structure somewhat like this is formed. This is a lateral view and this is a frontal view. If we cut this structure and look at the sagittal view of this structure, we will have this view. This is the sagittal view. Initially or before birth, the pressure in right atrium is more than left atrium. Both the chambers are connected to each other, and due to increase in pressure in right atrium, there is flow or there is right to left shunt. We have an opening, or this connection is known as ostium primum. Ostium simply refers to an opening. So this is ostium primum. So in atrial septation, first step is that formation of septum. A septum known as septum primum starts to grow. It starts to grow and grows toward endocardial cushion, dorsal endocardial cushion. So at first step, septum primum grows toward endocardial cushion, thus narrowing ostium primum. It finally reaches dorsal endocardial cushion. In second step, this is septum primum. In second step, we have a regression of cells within septum primum, and a new opening is formed which maintains right to left shunt, and this opening is known as septum secundum. Ostium secundum. Ostium secundum forms in septum primum due to cell death. Ostium primum regresses. Then we have a formation of new septum known as septum secundum. It develops on the right side of septum primum and it also grows downward. So septum secundum develops on the right side of septum primum as ostium secundum maintains right to left shunt. Then septum secundum grows and covers most of the ostium secundum, and the remaining opening which still maintains right to left shunt is known as foramen of Valli. Septum secundum expands and covers most of ostium secundum. The residual foramen is now called foramen of Valli. The septum primum now serves as a one-way valve. Comes so when blood comes from right atrium to right ventricle, the septum primum moves over here. But when blood tries to come from left atrium into right atrium, now septum primum fuses with septum secundum, thus forming a one-way valve. The remaining portion of septum primum forms the one-way valve of the foramen of Valli. Now what happens after birth? After birth, we have an increase in pressure of left atrium. So we have a pressure difference, or we have now left to right movement. Since septum primum is functioning as a one-way valve, it fuses or seals or closes the foramen of Valli, and thus an atrial septum forms. Septum primum closes against septum secundum, sealing the foramen of Valli soon after birth because of increased left atrial pressure and decreased right atrial pressure. Septum secundum and septum primum fuse during infancy or early childhood, forming the atrial septum. And later on, during infancy or early childhood, this closed septum primum and septum secundum fuses and forms the atrial septum. Then we have conditions known as patent foramen of Valli and another condition known as ASD. In patent foramen of Valli, we have fusion failure, where septum primum and septum secundum fail to fuse, and thus we have still the patency of foramen of Valli, while in ASD we have missing tissue. It can be either septum secundum or septum primum, but septum secundum type is the most common. If we look at, this is dorsal endocardial cushion, and septum secundum shown by black color and septum primum shown by blue color. This is a normal heart or normal state where normal fusion occurs. In ASD, in septum secundum type of ASD, we have a short septum secundum due to misdevelopment or underdevelopment of septum secundum. Thus, we have right to left shunt or an ASD. In septum primum type of ASD, we have over regression of septum primum, and thus again we have right to left shunt, but this time it's due to septum primum. Now let's switch to first aid, patent foramen ovale. It is failure of septum primum and septum secundum to fuse after birth. It is seen in 25% of population. Most are asymptomatic and remain undetected. But it can lead to a clinical condition, a paradoxical emboli, where venous thromboemboli enter the systemic arterial circulation through right to left shunt, as can occur in atrial septal defect. So, how does a paradoxical embolism occur? In normal state or normal condition, when a venous thromboembolism enter our heart via vena cava, it first reaches right atrium. This is a normal heart or normal condition. From right atrium, it moves to right ventricle. From right ventricle, it moves to pulmonary artery, and from pulmonary artery, it moves to lungs, where it causes pulmonary embolism. This is a normal state or normal heart. While in ASD or patent foramen ovale, when a venous thromboembolism reaches our heart via vena cava, it first goes to right atrium. From right atrium, instead going to right ventricle, it goes to left atrium via patent foramen ovale or ASD. From left atrium, it goes into left ventricle. From left ventricle, it goes to aorta, and aorta, from aorta, it reaches brain, where it causes stroke. So, stroke caused by a venous thromboembolism is known as paradoxical embolism. Now, after that, we have ventricular septation. Same like atrial septation, a muscular interventricular septum forms and the opening is called interventricular foramen. A septum known as muscular interventricular septum develops and the opening or the connection is known as interventricular foramen. Then we have aorticopulmonary septum formation. In aorticopulmonary septum formation, we have endocardial cushions or ridges formation due to neural crest cells migration. They migrate to specific locations as shown by diagram. It migrates at location 1, 2 and 3. It forms lateral cushions or lateral ridges at location 1 and location 3. The first location ridge is formed at truncus arteriosus and 2 and 3 are formed at bulbous cordus level. The level 1 and level 3 we have lateral cushions, while at level 2 we have ventrodorsal cushions. These cushions start to grow with each other, eventually forming the septum. This septum results in formation of pulmonary artery and aorta, but the the aorta and pulmonic artery which are formed, they have a spiral course. In at front or at the ventral side, we have a pulmonic artery which is connected with right ventricle and an aorta which is dorsally or at the back side of pulmonary artery which is connected to left ventricle. So we have the course of pulmonary artery is it is initially at front, then it switches to the left, then at last it goes toward the back of aorta. Same goes aorta. Initially aorta is located at the back, then it switches toward to the right, and at last it emerges at the front of pulmonary artery. And this is same course of pulmonary artery and aorta in adult or mature heart. Initially, pulmonary artery connected with right ventricle, initially goes in front of aorta, then it goes toward the left aorta, and at last it goes behind aorta or under the aortic arch. This was all about aorticopulmonary septum formation. So we have aorticopulmonary septum which rotates and fuses with muscular ventricular septum to form membranous interventricular septum closing the interventricular foramen. So aorticopulmonary septum forms, and this aorticopulmonary septum fuses with the this is aorticopulmonary septum, and aorticopulmonary septum fuses with muscular interventricular septum and thus forms the membranous part of interventricular septum. We have a condition known as ventricular septal defect, which is most common congenital cardiac anomaly, and it usually occurs in membranous septum. The ventricular septum consists of two parts, the membranous part and the muscular part. But the most common anomalies occur in the membranous part. You can learn it that since muscles are stronger than membrane, so most common abnormalities or the most uh, abnormal part is the membranous part. Then we have atrioventricular canalization. After the formation of endocardial tube, the structures from top to bottom are ATB, PPS. At top we have aortic sac, then we have truncus arteriosus, then we have bulbus cordus, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, and at last we have sinus venosus. So if we look at these structure and cut this endocardial tube and look at the transverse cross section, we will have this view. We have a common atrioventricular canal. Same like other structures, we have again endocardial cushions or ridges formation due to neural crest migration. We have lateral endocardial cushions and ventral dorsal endocardial cushions. They grow, but the growth in ventral and dorsal endocardial cushion is greater as compared to lateral endocardial cushion, and they finally fuse with each other, thus dividing the common atrioventricular canal into right and left atrioventricular canal. This is another view. This is a coronal view. We have an atria and ventricle. There is a growth of endocardial cushions, and at last they fuse with each other, thus dividing right and left atrioventricular canals. So growth of endocardial cushions separates atria from ventricles and also contributes to atrial septation and membranous portion of the interventricular septum. The neural crest cell migrations result in truncal and bulbar ridges that spiral and fuse to form aorticopulmonary septum, which divides the truncus arteriosus into ascending aorta and pulmonic trunk. The conotruncal abnormalities associated with failure of neural crest cells to migrate result in transposition of great arteries, where aorta sorry what happened in conotruncal abnormalities. We have first transposition of great arteries where aorta emerges from right ventricle and pulmonary artery emerges from left ventricle. In tetralogy of Fallot, we have pulmonary stenosis, right ventricular hypertrophy, then we have overriding aorta, and we have a VST. In persistent truncus arteriosus, the truncus arteriosus failed to divide into aorta and pulmonary artery, and thus we have an common opening. Then at last we have valve development. Semilunar valve formation. Same like other structures, we have lateral endocardial cushions or ridges and ventral dorsal ridges. They start to grow and eventually fuse with each other. But the unique case or the uniqueness in the semilunar valve formation is that a formation of indentation between these structures. This indentation deepens and eventually divides the outflow tract into an aorta and a pulmonic trunk. Thus, uh, each of the following structures, an aorta as well as pulmonic trunk, has three cusp walls, each cusp coming from the ridges. This is another view. This is a sagittal view of wall formation. These are endocardial cushions or wall swelling, but there is an increased regression in a top side which results in valvular structures of forming a one-way valve cusps. At last we have valve development. Aortic and pulmonary valves are derived from endocardial cushions of the outflow tract. The mitral and tricuspid valves are derived from fused endocardial cushions of the AV canal. Then we have different abnormalities with valve. Valvular anomalies may be stenotic. In stenotic type of valvular anomaly, the opening is narrowed, thus reducing blood flow across the valve. Then we have a regurgitant type of anomaly in which the valve failed to close properly, thus there is a backflow of blood across the valve. Then we have atretic type of valve, for instance a tricuspid atresia in which the valve failed to open or there is a failure of opening across tricuspid valve, and thus we have a disconnection between right atrium and right ventricle, and at last we have a displaced type, for instance in Epstein's anomaly, in which if we look at the chamber, this is right atrium and right ventricle. So in Epstein anomaly, instead of normal location, the valve is located more within the ventricle, thus decreasing size of right ventricle and increasing size of right atrium. Now at last we have a memory checkpoint. Which of the following is the most common congenital cardiac anomaly? Is it a VSD, an ASD, a persistent truncus arteriosus, or a tetralogy of Fallot? You can pause the video and think about it, and the correct answer is VSD. Thank you.